7:14 p.m. Sunday, August 2nd. We are fortunate enough to have Major Richard Ojeda here. Major, welcome to the show. I'm hearing some external audio. Is someone using external monitors?
Can people please mute when someone's talking?
All right, someone's using it. Thank you. That'll do it. If you're using external monitors, external speakers, you're gonna get bleed through here on Zoom. So please, if at all possible, use headphones. So that being said, welcome to the show. We are a basic income advocacy podcast, producing 3 or 4 episodes per weekend because we are all extremely passionate about basic income, even though we're from all over the political spectrum. Liberals, conservatives, people who are neither liberal nor conservative. People from all walks of life. Anyway, this is a long introduction for my show.
All states.
You get a little butterflies. You have a big guest like Richard Ojeda here. So welcome. Very happy to have you. Everyone pretty much knows the deal. We're an open discussion on poverty, basic income, and electoral politics. So that being said, who would like to open the discussion with a question for Richard Ojeda on those topics?
Sure. Richard, like you put on your Facebook about, these unemployment benefits expiring. And for some people, that's exactly today. So then should we transition from these unemployment benefits to a basic income? Like, what do we have to do to convince these lunatics that they shouldn't be cutting off millions of Americans from like their one source of, help? It's crazy.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we can.
Okay. Look, you know what? This is going to blow up in people's face. Every single Republican president, all the way back to Ronald Reagan, has always pushed a trickle-down economics, which has been proven to be nothing more than a free cash grab for the rich because they don't create jobs with the money. They stick it in offshore accounts and shove it in mattresses. Universal basic income, or the freedom dividend by Andrew Yang, is basically trickle up economics, and it can work. $1,000 a month, may not seem like a lot, but to some folks out there, I mean, it's life and death. I think that it's absolutely something that can work, and Andrew Yang has proven that it can work. We just have to allow our government to not be so damn greedy, which is where we're at right now. I'm actually in the middle of writing a book, and the book is called "We Are Worthy: The Fight for the Forgotten," and each chapter is a different group of people in America that have been forgotten: veterans, the elderly, the disabled, the addicted. And the truth is that, I also implement the freedom dividend into each chapter because it talks about how $1,000 a month can absolutely help these folks out there that are struggling. It's something that absolutely our government needs to step up and do. But once again, I think that what's going to happen is we're going to have to crash before somebody finally gets their heads out of their asses and tries something like a trickle-up economics freedom dividend.
Well, with that, it's like all these people are kind of stuck in almost a purgatory, right? They're just like, lost in all the pain and chaos that's entered their lives. But a lot of people haven't even entered a point in their life where it's like, it even matters. They've never had any kind of big defining moment until recently.
But you're absolutely right. The person that is actually working with me on this book, she's in that boat. I'm retired military. I've got my retirement coming in and things of that nature. But I work with people all the time that are in this situation. And as of today, she's now living on $100 a week. And, that is absolutely, she's not going to be able to survive. And right now she, like many others, are basically looking towards our government to bring some type of opportunity so that they're not going to friggin' starve. They're not going to get evicted. They're going to be able to put food on the table. But right now, it looks like we've got people in Washington, D.C. that are playing games with people's livelihoods. And I'm telling you, I think that if something isn't done very soon, especially now that everyone has been cut off, we're going to see some real issues in this country really fast.
How long would you think, or I should say not so much how long, what do you think it would take more than what we're already going through to get them to that point? Because it feels like we should have been there already by a lot of accounts.
You're absolutely right. I really don't know. I'm sitting here thinking to myself that, you're talking about the Republican Party, and they are in power. They are in power in the Senate. And I really believe that if they really thought about saving their existence, they would be doing everything in their power to try to help people that are struggling. And right now, we're watching people not do anything. I mean, it's like they're literally trying to take this opportunity to tank everything that we have, Social Security. They're just trying to tank it. And I don't understand where their mentality is coming from, because the truth is that if they tank it, it's going to be on them. I mean, do they want their party to completely be destroyed because of what they're doing? And I'm sitting here thinking, apparently they do. I don't understand it.
There's a lot of senses in which I think they felt like they were already going downhill before this. I read a lot of articles about some freakouts they were having in 2016 about the direction of the youth and the vote there. So maybe they just feel like if they don't lean into it, they've got no chance anyways. I don't know.
So basically, let's let Social Security lapse, and then what? To me, the only people that are thriving in this country, their middle class has absolutely been under attack for quite some time. I mean, we're going to get really soon to the point where we either have the filthy rich and the dirt poor. And I've said this many times. When that happens, the dirt poor will eat the filthy rich. And I think that they're going to tap dance really close on that fine line. And, I don't know. I don't know. It's scary when you realize that we've got leaders in Washington, D.C. that care so little about the average citizen out there.
Richard, yeah, like it boggles my mind. Like, you fought for this country, but I mean, you didn't fight for it for everybody to be dirt poor and just a few people at the top. I mean, what do your military buddies think of this? Because it looks like we need to be economically liberated from this stupidity that we're facing right now. Yeah.
I will tell you that senior leadership in the military are walking on eggshells. I have no fear about the military doing what is right. I have no fear when it comes to that. But right now, you have senior leadership in the military that are probably scared to death that they're going to get that phone call to serve, on this administration. And to me, that's a career ender for sure. But it's crazy. I mean, I don't think you can really put it into words. The military, when you serve in the military and you retire, you get your retirement benefits, your medical's taken care of. But make no mistake about it, veterans struggle too. But nowhere near what we have people today going through in this country. I just don't understand how many people out there can still be waving Trump flags, can still be, big supporters. Because what I see is, everything is absolutely crumbling. And I don't know what the fix is right now. All I know is that we've got a lot of people in this country that are getting angry, and it's a powder keg, and it's going to explode pretty soon. And it doesn't seem like the senior leadership in this country the GOP leadership gives two shits about it.
I mean, we think the fix is basic income, and thank you. I mean, thank you for that. For your
Well,
words.
no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Look, UBI.
That's what we think.
UBI is something that absolutely could help this country right now when we're going through a global pandemic. If they just initiated UBI now, I can guarantee you by the time this global pandemic is over, they would see the other benefits, the booming of the economy. You know, I look at myself. I live in Logan County, West Virginia. There's 32,000 adults. If you infused 32,000 $1,000 checks into this community, you know, the mom and pop stores would come back. The stores would boom. People would be able to fix their cars. They would be able to go after their debt. There's so much that they could do. But I believe that if they initiated UBI for 6 months, at the end of 6 months, they would say, yeah, we want to keep this because of what it does for our economy.
Yeah, Richard, I also want to say, like, based, going off of, the talk about UBI and stuff, I'm noticing that we like our society has like a habit of procrastinating, and especially on things like UBI, because like when Andrew Yang was running on it, no one didn't want to take a chance with him, and they just blew him off and stuff. But then after he dropped out, and then this pandemic hit, then all of a sudden UBI started gaining traction and being like mainstream, where people were going, yeah, we should get money in our hands, especially when that stimulus check came. But what was it to say? Oh, damn it.
Here's the key with what you just said. You know, when Andrew Yang was running and he was talking UBI, those people that were also running for office, they didn't want to give Andrew Yang oxygen because they knew that Andrew Yang was picking up a lot of momentum. When Andrew Yang dropped out of the race, now it's okay for people to speak about it.
Yeah.
But they wasn't going to continue speaking about it when he was in the running, because the last thing they wanted to do is say, well, guys, Andrew Yang is right. That's the problem with politics in this country. The people in politics in this country wouldn't have a problem watching everybody starve to death, as long as, they could make sure that their opponent didn't get any oxygen. And that's just how it is. And it's a sad place to be. And, oh, by the way, remember, the Democrats weren't speaking about it.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with party.
Facts.
So
why is it like
disgusting.
that? It's like, I'm like, what's like, where did it originate from? Where is like all this, like this negligence and just lack of
you got to understand politics.
Contempt for the
Let me
poor.
tell you something.
Contempt for the poor and the middle class being sold a bill of goods starting in late 1970s that if
Yep.
programs were cut that helped the poor and traditionally marginalized and discriminated groups, that it would be a better deal for them, that the poor were a drag on them, that's why they didn't have the good life. And that if they cut these programs for the poor and stopped supporting programs that help the poor get jobs and all that they would too get to join the 1% club or whatever and get to become rich. And they swallowed
to be the opposite
for 40.
Well, yeah, but you're right. You're right. But here's what you got to understand. In terms of politics and politicians, when I retired from the military and I come home, I had no desire to get into politics. I'd never in my life met a politician that if I shook his hand, I didn't want to immediately purell up immediately following. But the problem with politics is that even though they may even be in your own party, if some of them don't get top credits, then they don't want to play. And I'm going to tell you, I pushed medical cannabis in West Virginia, and I made West Virginia the 29th state for medical cannabis. But let me tell you something. Nobody even on my side wanted to even step up with me until it got momentum from the people. They looked at me and told me, don't you dare try to bring medical cannabis into this state. You know, and I'm like, well, screw you. You can kiss my ass. I got 22 people committing suicide every day in the military due to PTSD, and I know cannabis can help. But it wasn't until people started figuring that they could get some taps on the back, then they got involved. This is bullshit.
Well, I'm just going to tell you what I've observed as somebody who's experienced life as a member of one of the poorest and most marginalized groups there is, a group that has an 80% homelessness rate and a 90% unemployment rate. And that's a group of poor female human trafficking survivors, okay? And up until only recently, when people like us were found chopped up and stuffed in dumpsters, it was unofficial policy to write no human involved on the police report. So when you have a society that is cool with that and says that the gutter in an early grave is the only place that poor women deserve to have, do you think there's an adequate floor to bolster everybody else? No, there's not. What I seen and what I lived, okay, is as somebody from generational poverty who never had health benefits until Obamacare and the Medicaid expansion, okay, who was shut out of jobs my entire life because of being the victim of a crime, mind you. What I've seen and what I've observed is that this country is full-on craptastic assholeanism. Full stop. You know, you cannot sit there and say, why is our system messed up, when at the same time you're saying, well, there's an entire group of people that don't even deserve to have basic human rights. Screw them.
Yeah.
Prostitution is the only thing they're good for. They deserve. You can't get a job. You can't get an equal chance because of systemic discrimination. Tough shit. Quit your whining. This is our culture, people. America is not nice. Americans are not nice. We need to own up to that fact. We are not nice people. We do not have a great country. We live in a secret sepulcher that is decaying and dying within from its own craptastic assholeanism.
Considering that some very few countries in the world have the universal basic income yet, I think we're not unique in having some of those same problems everywhere. I just watched a Chinese, completely in Chinese, kind of like a TED Talk, the same type of thing, but in China, about somebody who's been doing research on, what they call the, I guess, like prostitution for the last 20 years. And I felt that something that was missing from all of this research for 20 years of research is that universal basic income, which, that's how you know the difference between somebody who's doing something as a profession that loves it and somebody who's doing something because they're forced to do it. And you'll never know that unless we respect everybody's rights. We have to respect people's human rights to just have enough to say no to something that they don't.
I definitely agree, Faye, and that's what I've been saying for over a decade. But the thing is, you know what I get met with when I say that? Oh, you just want a handout.
Oh, just get a job. Yeah.
There's a toxic narrative governing our country.
Disgusts me so much.
It's like, let's ignore all these systemic injustices and pretend that they don't exist, because maybe if we do like they did in the old nuclear bomb drills on TV from the 1950s, if we all just duck under the picnic blanket,
used to bring more awareness.
Will not hurt us.
Let me say something slightly positive here, though. I'm happy to be part of the vein running through the rock, trying to spread gold to the rest of the nation, as opposed to being one of the people trying to crush. So thank you, guys.
Let me tell you, one of the issues that we have, and I spent 24 years in the military, and it drives me crazy when I see these people out there with. Look, I'm a patriotic person, but I am at least smart enough to realize that we're not the greatest country. The only thing that we're the best at is we can kick everybody else's ass. That we spend more money on our military. We have a serious problem in this country, but yet, other countries can offer things that this country doesn't want to, that this country's leadership doesn't want to. If you look at the life expectancy If you look at the rates of happiness in places like Sweden and Denmark and Finland, you know, I mean, these are countries that, oh, by the way, tax the shit out of their citizens, but their citizens are okay with it because they get the best transportation capabilities in the world, free college, free health care. You know, it amazes me how everybody's real quick to scream, we're the best, but we don't do shit for our people. And we got people
you're
that are
right.
struggling right now. And
You're
nobody in Washington, D.C. right now, the only thing that you're seeing when we are cutting people off from the only bit of income that they have, and you've got Mitch McConnell basically now saying, well, the only way we're going to fix anything is if we kill Social Security and Medicare. And these are people that will never need any of those benefits. You know, sometimes I wish we would just go ahead and eat the freaking rich.
Well, here's the thing, is that everybody's focusing on the people that just lost benefits, but there have been long-term unemployed people that were pushed out of the economy before COVID that have been completely ignored, that are getting fuck all, that are, excuse my language, nothing, who are getting nothing. And as a group, that's a large group, and they're being completely ignored. Everybody is ignoring them, right? And it's, you know, this happened before. This happened in 2008. And it was like very briefly, there was scant attention to those pushed out of the economy permanently, largely due to age discrimination. After they had lost everything, they were called the 99ers. Their unemployment benefits ran out, and they were never reabsorbed back in the economy. And when the jobs started to pick up again, they were different kind of jobs. They were new jobs. They were tech jobs. And guess who was not hired? People age 40 and over, especially people age 40 and over who didn't live in the big coastal cities, okay? So in the interim, the people that got pushed out were ignored and written off as, well, if you can't get a job, it's your fault. You're a loser. The economy's doing fine. There's all these, you know, the unemployment rate is down to 2%. Well, nobody ever wanted to have an honest conversation about all the people that had been permanently pushed out, and this country and the people in it, because it's not just the system, it's everybody, it's the public, it's the media, does not want to have that honest conversation. You know what we need? We need a national come to Jesus meeting about this, about poverty, and about who got chances and who gets chances and who does not.
I think that's what we're doing right here, Jacqueline.
Yeah, this is what we need to take to Washington.
Yeah.
We need to get ourselves, you know, right in front of that, excuse my French, to cop a quote from a YouTube comedian, Vic DiBedetto. We need to get our mugs right in front of that Kentucky Fried taint, Mitch McConnell, and make him understand that you can't punish people out of poverty. You can't starve people into getting jobs that no employer is willing to hire them for, or that exist.
Let me jump in here real quick, because you're absolutely right. You're spot on. But I have to also say that, you know, I come from a state that has very little opportunities, but unions have been a big force in my state. You know, it was the Battle of Blair Mountain in my hometown right here that led to this state being able to unionize. They dropped bombs on our people here in my hometown.
Yep, in 1923, Warren Harding.
But here's the problem. You know, we've got people in this country that are absolutely, they couldn't, you know, this is what kills me. There's rich people in this country that could literally end world hunger themselves. That could be their legacy, but they're not going to do it, because to them, they could give two shits about that. It's all about how much more money that they can rake in. But here's the problem. Unions, who normally were the ones that stood up and fought for the working class citizens, the problems that we're seeing now in West Virginia and probably across this country is that union leadership has been sabotaged. The people at the top in unions are absolutely no different than any other crook in Washington, D.C. They will absolutely sell out the friggin' person that's fighting to help the poor guy and the poor girl out there if it best suits them. And I'm telling you, I mean, there was a time when we probably could have an opportunity to have people in this country that are struggling be able to have a voice. But right now, I don't know where that's going to come from. It's going to have to come from somebody special that's going to come out of nowhere. Because, like where I come from, I mean, they sold me out. I had a 100% voting record for unions. And the unions in my state are endorsing Republicans. And, it's over with. It's over with. I don't know where we're going to get the people out there that's going to stand and fight for the less fortunate until we probably have friggin' people running with friggin' torches in the streets to burn it all down. And maybe that's what needs to happen.
That's unfortunately what seems to be happening in some places. Let's bring Zach in because Zach has a question.
Sir, I'd like to ask, first of all, thank you for your service. But I'd like to ask, when did you first hear about universal basic income, and were you on board with it right away, or did it take a little bit a while for it to seep in? How did you get behind UBI?
No, actually, Andrew Yang talking about UBI is what really made me go, hey, wow, that sounds pretty good. I mean, you can do research and go all the way back to, a universal basic income concept come out with President Nixon. But
Thomas Paine.
Andrew, do what?
Thomas Paine, one of the founders of the country.
Before
Well,
that,
there you go. I mean,
go back a couple
we're
centuries. St. Thomas More.
Well, I mean, and that's great, but the thing about it is it's nobody's really truly, as far as I'm concerned, until Andrew Yang started really speaking about it. And then to me, I mean, I'm like, why not? I know that friggin' for decades, they've pushed this trickle-down economics. And it's always been said, guys, it doesn't work, but they push it. Donald Trump pushes it. It become the largest tax grab in the history of this country, and we know it doesn't work, but that's what the Republicans do. But now we got a person that was talking about, hey, let's do something for the common person. You don't have to be a freaking economist to realize if you give people $1,000 a month that live in your community, they're not going to run and throw it in the friggin' stock market. 95% of the people around here where I come from don't know nothing about the stock market. But if you give them $1,000, they're going to get new tires for their vehicle. They're going to pay down some debt. They're going to buy their kids nicer school clothes. Those are the kind of things people are going to do. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that if you own a store and you sell shoes, people are going to buy shoes and you're going to benefit. Trickle up economics. But nobody wants to push trickle up economics because the people that give a shit don't give a shit. The people that don't give a shit know that if they just keep electing Republicans every single time we have a Republican president, they're going to try it again. Look at what's happened. The people in this country, the average working class citizen is poorer, but yet the CEO of every friggin' corporation out there has his wealth has quadrupled. Shit's got to stop.
I have an interesting analogy to follow up with that. Okay, so let's say there's no food in the house, you're starving, and like there's nothing to feed on, and there's no food for about like a week or so. If you go starving, if you go hungry for about a week or maybe like 2 weeks or so, and then like the next week or whatever, you finally manage to get some food in the house, most likely you're going to binge. You're not going to be like managing like what you eat or whatever. But if you already have a sufficient amount of food to consume or whatever, then you'll be most likely to be more inclined to manage what you eat and stuff. It's the same with giving people money. It's like if you give them no money and like no sort of resources, what they're gonna do is they are going to loot. They're going to they're going to like once you do give them money, like they're going to like spend it on unnecessary things like new pair of shoes or whatever, or anything like that. But if you give them money on a monthly basis, yeah, they'll be more inclined to like save, to like invest and spend it on things that actually matter. But if you don't give it to them like right away or whatever, it's going to be chaos. So I'm just saying, it's like that's it. It has to be done.
Well, I look at it like this. You know, if you're going hungry, you're going to eat. And if you got to go out and take it from somebody, then you're going to eat. And that's what these people at the top need to understand. They need to understand that if they can't find the balance, I got it. You know, you want to be rich. Okay, that's great. This is America. You can be rich. But you better believe that there better be a balance, and they better find one soon. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm going hungry, if my kids are going hungry, I'm going to eat. And I'm going to get for my family. And if I got to take, I'm going to take. And I'm going to tell you, these people better understand, when I say the poor will eat the rich, that'll happen.
Mr. Ojeda, that's what I can kind of think of as being anarchy. When we talk about anarchy, it's like the autonomous systems of your body where, you know, your brain can tell you, the brain is the government, it's telling you don't breathe or don't eat or something. But at some point that will to live is going to come up. And that's like a lot to me, seems to me like anarchy where, you know, you don't need any rules, but people are going to find a way. So Faye, do you have another question? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I just wanted to say that if my kids are starving, I will eat you.
Faye, did you have a question for?
Yeah. I'm just gonna make a comment and then I'll get into my question that I was gonna ask. So yeah, my trailer that was attached to my truck was stolen. I mean, it wasn't stolen from the truck itself; it was unattached, but it was stolen recently because, you know, like as time goes on, people are going to get a little more desperate and grab things. You know, even though I'm a nomadic activist, so I travel. I like everything I own is within my truck and my trailer in a storage unit. Okay, so like them taking from me makes me that I can manage. I have a good social network, but not everyone does, right? But anyway, I actually wanted to ask a different kind of question. So now that you've dropped out, what kind of things, like I recognize you're writing this book, but like what kind of things do you think other people who dropped out, how could they possibly help others activate or be leaders in small movements, or like how do you think we could better utilize these passionate individuals?
You know, I think it's getting involved. You know, I dropped out of the race quite early. I realized that the media wasn't going to give me a shot. I mean, I was on The Morning Joe, Meet the Press, State of the Union, Van Jones. I was on all these shows. And it wasn't until I dropped out of the presidential race that Chuck Todd, for the first time, said, presidential candidate Richard Ojeda. But, you know, let me tell you something. I like to get involved. I stay involved. I speak out. If I support somebody, I support them openly, and I don't care about it. But, like, you know, I actually jumped on board with No Dim Left Behind, which, of course, now we know that Andrew Yang is going to host the live town hall in the end of this month in August. But, you know, it's getting involved. You know, I'm out there working with an organization that goes into red rural districts and tries to daggone win and flip seats blue. And, you know, it may take us 2 or 3 different elections before we're successful. But the truth is, if nobody's willing to go into those areas, then it'll never flip. So, you know, we've got some really good candidates running in red rural areas, and we believe we may actually flip some seats blue. You got to stay active. You know, if you believe in something, you know, I would have loved nothing more than to be able to put blinders up and not deal with politics at all. You know, the moment that I really sat down and got really into politics, I realized that there's nothing on this earth ever going to take this off of my mind. I'm going to have to be in this fight for the rest of my life. And you have to be. That's just what you got to do. You know, I mean, all I can say is you got to stay active and do whatever you can. Even if it's on the local level, you got to participate, local, state, and national.
And I think, like, I don't know, but we have this whole, like, a media industrial complex that always wants to go after the most sensationalist bullshit nonsense instead of paying attention to what's actually important. And it amazes me, like, we have to call out this a goldfish attention span culture that's always wanting us to think in the short term instead of the long term. Yeah.
You know, another thing is the news media. You know, sadly, I mean, what happened to the news? I mean, it's like literally, I mean, one side pushes this issue, the other side pushes this issue, and nobody's really just giving the news. I mean, it's a shame. It seems like everybody's got their own agenda. But I mean, goodness, I'll tell you right now, I hope that when this is over with, I'd love nothing more than to see Sean Hannity and those assholes face charges for some of the garbage that they push.
Yeah, I get the news here is the thing. I get the news by literally talking to people on the weekend doing this show.
Yeah.
And I don't know how other people get it. You know, it's crazy.
The mainstream media has been made unreliable since, and this happened during the Reagan administration, where we used to actually have public grants that were, you know, that you could be a citizen journalist and get paid to write, or, you know, because back then that's what you did was write. We didn't have internet yet, you know, and you had news. Then with corporate consolidation and with, you know, what I call the neoliberal machinery, and that's not to be confused with political party. Neoliberalism is an economic framework. It is political party agnostic. But basically, with 45 years of neoliberal policies that consolidated corporate power, okay, you had all these small, tiny, independent, you know, even like the small town rural newspapers got eaten up by these big fish, by the, you know, that got eaten up by even yet bigger fish. So now you've got like what, 2 or 3 major news outlets that control all the news throughout the country. You know, this is why. But you have to go back and look at what happened from the late 1970s on. You know,
but you also have to understand that. Look at the newspapers. You know, in my hometown now, the newpaper is literally 2 pages, and it's nothing but it's no different than sharing. It's just it's copies of things, you know, in the major news. It's nothing local, nothing at all. There's nothing at all about local news in the local papers these days.
Yeah, and the truth about poverty was swept under the rug and deliberately disappeared. The poorest of the poor were literally disappeared from the public square, and to make sure that they were unseen as well as unheard, poverty and homelessness was criminalized.
Okay. Can I also add something to this though? Like, honestly, I have been like talking to a lot of people, like as a traveler, I just get like really in-depth conversations, but with the homeless people. And I can't tell you how many of these people are whistleblowers who just now are homeless. You know, like these people are part of, like, they removed themselves from gangs. They have been like removed from the world because they wanted to say something, right? And like, if you look into other countries, I mean, people are living in sewers and they're doing ethnic cleansing where they just kill these people. You know, they light them on fire sometimes, okay? And we probably have people living in tunnels in our own cities, you know, because they're hiding, right? And like, they're looked at as if they're not human, but they're human and they should have a voice and they should have a decent living situation where they're not fearing for their lives every day. Because then you're just running on.
Let me tell you. But here's something you got to understand too. You know, it's like felons. You know, the right to vote. it's like if you do the crime, you do the time. But when you're done doing the time, you should automatically have your voting rights back. Because if they did, make no mistake about it, these politicians would look at the people getting out of prison in a different light, because those people could help them or put them out of a damn job. The same thing with people that are homeless. I know it's very, very hard, but we got to figure out how we can get these people to make sure they're registered to vote and make sure that they actually vote. Because if that's the case, and you've got millions of people across this country that are homeless, if these politicians knew that the millions of people across this country that are homeless was able to vote, then they would push legislation helping the people that are homeless in this country. That's the biggest problem that we have, is that if politicians don't think you're going to get off your ass and actually go to vote, they will flush you in a heartbeat.
Well, a vote is not sufficient, because you also need the finances, the ability to actually get to utilize that vote, because you need you need money for transportation, you need money to get your ID, you need money to hold on to like a piece of mail, to get a piece of mail somewhere. So just like the vote we have a very strong focus on the vote, but not enough focus on the money aspect. And I know that Jeremy is here, and he is your biggest fan, Mr. Ojeda. Jeremy Salmons would like to ask you a question also.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today. Back in 2016, an attempt was made on your life by an absolute coward. I'm just hoping you can speak more about what happened in that situation and what was the motivation behind it.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that, because the truth is I really wish that this was national because of what was done. First off, I ran against a guy that was a 36-year politician who ran my hometown with an iron fist. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you didn't cross this guy, because if you did, then, you could find yourself in a world of shit. I challenged him. And 2 days before the race, I'm not saying that he was responsible for my attack. I'm not saying that. But the people who wanted him to win were responsible for that attack. And 2 days before I won that seat, I was lured away from a political gathering to put bumper stickers on a guy's vehicle. And what he did was, when I leaned down to put one on, he hit me in the back of the head with a pipe, rolled me over when I was unconscious, and broke 8 bones in my face with brass knuckles. Now, here's the downside to that. As soon as it happened, one certain group of police tried to come in and take over. And my wife was smart enough to call a lawyer that we know. And he said, stop, don't say nothing to them. We've got to call the federal law enforcement in on this, and state troopers. And then finally they come in. Well, what happened was the prosecuting attorney and all of them, I believe every single one of them had something to do with all of this. Because what they did in my absence was they ran real quick and they wrote up a bullshit plea deal that basically said that I got into a fist fight and got knocked out, which reduced that guy from 30 years to 5 years right off the bat. He ended up not doing 6 months, and he didn't even do it. He did it in a non-violent facility. And that was because they knew that if he faced the years that he was supposed to get, that he would roll and tell on who put him up to it. So they did everything in their power to make sure that he got a slap on the wrist. I literally accidentally almost bumped into this guy in Walmart not even 6 months after they took him away in handcuffs. And I was literally like, what the hell? That's the kind of stuff that goes on. And my medical records, when I ran for Congress, my medical records were stolen from the Veterans Administration, and they were posted on friggin' line on Facebook. And do you know that the investigators for the VA told me this was the worst case they had ever seen? But yet the VA refuses to give me the investigation. And the reason why the VA refuses to give me the investigation is we believe it goes all the way to the top. They knew that if this got out, it would destroy the Republican Party in West Virginia, because every damn one of them were involved in it. The Republican senators were the ones who shared it on Facebook, and we knew it. but I got no justice at all. I've never in my life been done. Nobody's ever been done as dirty as Richard Ojeda's been done in terms of West Virginia, which is why now I just bought land in North Carolina, and I'm going to leave this place. I just ran for U.S. Senate in West Virginia, and, union leadership have resigned because of what they did to me. And that's how it is. West Virginia, the unions who usually stood up for the working class, they're jumping in, making deals with the Republicans. It's horrible what they did to me. It's horrible what the prosecuting attorney did to me. And yet I have never been able to get justice. The guy who stole my medical records from the VA, he was given 6 months, and 2 months after he left in handcuffs, I got a letter that they had already sent him to the halfway house. But yet if I go find this guy and I stomp his guts loose, which I could if I wanted to, I would go to prison.
Well, that's the thing in the United States.
They
Ariel.
should just name your governor Jim Injustice. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I like
Oh
that.
my.
Jim Justice's head is so far up Trump's ass. If you look down Trump's mouth, you're gonna see his eye. That's really bad. But they're all-
That's
bootlickers,
insane.
bootlickers.
In the
And-
United States, the good people have this general belief in the system that the system is as good as we are. And so, if the judge says so, then it must be true. Or if the media says so, it must be true. And that's something that we're really, it's heartbreaking to come to grips with the fact that it isn't, and that you have to not trust in the powers.
Well, when I was a state senator, I called for the impeachment of one of our Supreme Court justices in West Virginia, and we ended up impeaching him, and he went to jail. But basically, what happened was that they had a budget, and he ended up spending, hundreds of thousands, and other Supreme Court justices spent up to almost $1 million each renovating their offices. Our tax dollars, $1,700 throw pillows, that kind of garbage. I'll tell you,
It's
man.
like
the people
it's a full-time job, just trying to constantly keep people honest, keeping our judges and our leadership honest.
It is, and I'll tell you this: when I was a state senator, it was my speech that lit the match on the teacher strike. So the teacher strike that happened in West Virginia that spread to Oklahoma, to Los Angeles, and all these places, it was my speech that started that. And I'm going to tell you, I have never in my life seen more dirty, underhanded tactics that the Republicans in West Virginia used against our teachers. Jim Justice, during the midterms, he pulled all of the Republicans and set them behind him because the teachers won their fight and they got a 5% raise. Jim Justice pulled all the Republicans behind him, and I said the Republicans are done. The blue wave in West Virginia is going to make the one in Virginia look like a ripple in the water. But Jim Justice brings all the Republicans and they sit behind him, and he gives this speech and says, "Listen up, everybody. If you reelect these guys, these Republicans, I'm going to give you all another pay raise." And I'm like, "You better don't do it, ladies and gentlemen. He's full of shit." Guess what? They elected every damn one of them. And guess what they did? They come back and they said, "Okay, here's your 5% pay raise. But the only way you're going to get it is you got to agree to charter schools too." Boom. Once again, underhanded, lying ass bastards is what all of them are.
Okay, let's go to Izzy with the next question.
Oh yeah, I'm just enjoying this conversation. But what I wanted to bring up was, and I know there are other countries have, the very solution we're talking about, and the things that Richard has been addressing. There have been countries in various places that have, created solutions and stuff and gave their people better life. And what I want to zero in on is specifically the French part of the French government and Canada and the French community over there, because I have a friend there, and a lot of these things that we've been discussing and what the solutions we've been buying or whatever, the French have done that. Not only have they done it, but they've done it in such a quick way. And I'll add this, Richard, when it comes to, say what you want about the French, but what they hate the most are liars and corrupt people. So that guy who did you wrong, he'd actually be locked up with child molesters. French community, either French community or um, either prison or at least in the psych ward. And with UBI, when the pandemic started, they had to like put their people on lockdown. 2 to 3 days later, they started giving their people $1,000 a month. What Andrew Yang was pushing for. They gave every single French person $1,000 a month. Like I don't know if it's 16 or 18 over, and it was for every single one of them, no matter what their background was, rich or poor. And also like they do have like protests and stuff. The thing about it is like the government, they respond right away, and it takes them like a week at most to actually enforce like laws and stuff and sign off bills, and like whereas like our government takes like over a month or so, and then they take breaks. The government barely takes breaks. The French government barely takes breaks. And it's like if they see like you're in need, like they will find a way. They will find alternatives. So it's like, let's say if if something comes up and things are like they're like it still takes a while for them. They will to process. They will still find like some sort of alternative, some way. It's like when you mentioned like if you're hungry, you're going to eat. With the French is like, okay, if we can't do this, then we're going to do this. We're going to find something. We're not going to just let you we're not going to just let you we're not going to just leave you hanging or whatever,
Struggling.
like they when they say like they look out for their own, they mean it. So there's no need for like division or Black Lives Matter or suicide rates or drug overdose. I mean, even though they have those problems as well, it's like it's not as potent or like very common or whatever. And corruption, shoot, it's like it
Let me
yeah.
let me kind of jump in here real quick. In the military, if Bravo Company has come up with a great way to do a certain task, and it's phenomenal, it saves time, it saves materials. If Bravo Company doesn't tell Alpha Company and Charlie Company that so that they can basically copy that and mirror that success, Bravo Company's in a world of shit. Because if you don't share your successes, then you are what we call a blue falcon, and you need to go. Okay? So what we need to have is leadership in this country that's willing to not always say, we're the best, but rather what they're doing is the best. And you know what? We believe that we can implement that here on our soil. And that's what needs to happen. That's one thing that needs to happen. Our leadership should not be so proud that they're not willing to say, hey, look at what they're doing over in France. And it works. And you know what? We can do it over here.
You have the resources.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? If you can't do it on the national level, if you just look at France, you could say, well, France, that's the size of this major city. Maybe that major city could implement what they're doing in France.
And Richard,
yeah,
France is 50 years behind us. 50 years behind as far as like technology and things, and they're up there with China as far as organization and stuff. And look at us. It's like,
but you see, that's the thing, is you may be right, but it doesn't matter if they come up with a good idea. There's no reason why we shouldn't grasp onto that. Here's another problem too, is let's look at a bill. Let's say that you write a bill, and it's an easy bill. It's a bill that says, look, I want to keep guns out of the hands of 5-year-old kids. Okay, sounds pretty easy, right? The problem that we have in Washington, D.C. is that bill right there should be all of 2 pages. But it ends up being a 20,000-page bill because that's what they do. It's a good idea, and then this person wants to get in there and add something to it, and this person wants to add something to it, and the next thing you know, it's a shitty bill, and if you pass it, you're also letting them do this over here, and that's what they do. We have a problem in this country. We have a problem with how legislation is created. And we have a problem where you've got people that absolutely will sell their souls to the lobbyists because they give two shits. They care more about that lobbyist than they care about their own constituents. And that's a problem that we have in this country. And we have got to address this before it destroys us.
I would like to chime in. Okay, so I have been listening to so many people talk on our show, and these are people who shouldn't, they should have more of a platform, but essentially they're going through the system and they are having problems, such as like judges who are helping sex traffickers. Okay, so we had a gal on yesterday who was sex trafficked, and she was trying to get away from her abuser, but she has a kid with him, right? And she can't do it. But it's not just the judge that's a problem. It's more than that, right? And so, like, I'm noticing we have corruption in our churches, our corporations, our police, our government, our banks, our restaurants,
Everywhere.
and like our medical. So, like, how do we dethrone
even in our communities, our families?
Okay, here's the thing. You notice how important these appointing of judges are all across the country. That's why. Because what they want to do is they want to make sure that there's judges all across this country so that if the next reign of power comes in, when they try to fix what's been going on, it's going to be a fight every single time. You know, that's absolutely taking place in this country. We need reform across the board. You know, right after George Floyd was murdered, literally like 2 or 3 days later, a judge in Florida had 2 people that were basically up on charges for the same crime. Their backgrounds were similar, but one was white, one was black. The white guy got 2 years, the black man got 26 years. You know, I mean, that alone says that judge doesn't deserve to be able to wear a robe. But the problem is that's taking place. That is the kind of garbage that we see all across this country, and it's taking place. And I'm telling you, the repercussions of what Donald Trump is doing to this country, to the courts, William Barr, what they're doing is when Donald Trump is gone, the fight is not over. The fight is just beginning, because now it's going to be a fight in the courts to right the wrongs, because they put so many people in power that are going to oppose anybody trying to fix these problems that we have. Our country it's going to take us a couple decades to get our heads out of our ass after this. I hate to say it, but I believe that's the way it's going to be.
So, Jeremy, you're up.
Mr. Ojeda, I remember when you were running, there was a joint fundraiser. There was an Act Blue link. It split donations between you and Mike Royer. And I was so excited when I saw that, because the two of you together, it's like a hurricane and a tornado. And I was so glad that you guys had made that partnership. And I'm just curious to know if there's anything else in the future that you guys have planned to do together.
Well, you know, I like Mike. Let me tell you, you know, he's a Marine. And he was solid. You know, look, you know, do I want Amy McGrath to beat Mitch McConnell? Hell yeah, I do. But I'll be honest with you. I think that, you know, if the people of Kentucky would have taken the time to check Mike out, a lot of them would have went with Mike. You know, and I'll tell you this too. This was one of the downsides when Amy McGrath come out. When she first announced, what did she say? Hey guys, I'm like Donald Trump light. Bullshit. I wouldn't eat, man, that was the worst thing in the world she could have said. But, you know, she was a prior candidate running for Congress, and she immediately got all of the support. But I will tell you that there's lots of folks out there that put their name on the dotted line to run for office that are absolutely solid and could be far better, but they don't get the mainstream media to give them any hope. Let me tell you, when I decided to run for the presidency, let me tell you something. If I would have made it to that first debate, I absolutely would have opened a lot of eyes. Because make no mistake about it, Mr. Beto O'Rourke, don't you dare come in here when Beto, and look, I'm going to say this, and I don't give a shit if you don't like what I say, but Beto O'Rourke was when they asked him in the debate, what's the number one problem facing this country? What did he say? Climate change. Do you know that Beto O'Rourke takes more money from big energy than any member of Congress? And he's actually only second to Ted Cruz in all of the people in Washington, D.C. in taking money from these big energy companies. He wouldn't do jack shit to fight climate change in this country. He would spend 4 years making excuses while he still continued to get that money. He's full of shit. Same thing goes, I don't like Kamala Harris and daggone Cory Booker because of their stance concerning Big Pharma. They take a lot of money from Big Pharma. Don't you dare tell me that you're going to fight the opioid epidemic when you take money from Big Pharma. If I would have made it to that stage, I would have opened a lot of eyes. You know, Tulsi Gabbard, when she was on that stage and she did something that lit somebody up, and she was the number one most researched after that debate. And I'm going to tell you now, if I'd have had the opportunity to get there, I would have been there too.
Jacqueline, did you have a question for Mr. Ojeda?
I just wanted to add that, you know, before becoming Yang Gang and, you know, was very solidly in the Bernie camp where I wrote up these articles on neoliberalism, I gave everybody a history lesson. And I just wanted to say that what Mr. Ojeda is talking about, what happened to him and the way politics are run there, it's not hyperbole. When Bloody Mingo, the massacre at Mattawan, the Battle of Blair Mountain happened, it was the largest armed insurrection on American soil since the Civil War. And, you know, this happened because miners were fed up with being paid in what's called script money that was only redeemable at the company store. And the miners all had to live in cheap ramshackle housing that was owned by the mines, right? So they couldn't just pick up and leave if they didn't like their digs. They couldn't just, you know, feel free to leave their job. And one of the things that really stuck out with me is when I saw people that called themselves progressives in the Bernie camp championing the idea of resurrecting this same concept of scrip, paying people in scrip under a federal jobs guarantee program. I just about shit my pants. I thought, oh my God, you know, where were these people? Have they not, these so superior, smart guys that read Marx and Engels, where the hell were they when Howard Zinn's A People's History came out and the Battle of Blair Mountain and Bloody Mingo and the massacre at Mattawan was discussed? It was like the most pivotal moment in U.S. history, and they completely lost the plot, you know? So I just wanted to add that and just to say, Mr. Ojeda, you know, I don't have much power. I don't have much of a platform, but if there's anything I can do to help, you know, get your voice, you know, amplified, I mean,
let me tell you.
You know, what can I do? I don't have any money. I'm just a poor woman.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't need your money. I don't want your money. But I'm going to tell you, you know, I'm going to always be a voice. I'm going to fight until they friggin' kill me. And like I said, they've tried once. But I'm going to tell you, you know, the Yang Gang is a big crew. And I would tell you, I would really appreciate, because let me tell you something. I flew to New York and spent a week with Andrew Yang and his team. I consider Andrew Yang to be a personal friend of mine. As a matter of fact, Andrew Yang is actually working on a blurb for my book. But I would love to, if you all could help me reach out to the Yang Gang and get them to follow me on Twitter. Get them to follow me on my Facebook, because I'm going to be a voice. I don't give a shit where I go. I'm gonna fight these people to the day I die, because I can't ignore it.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll organize a Twitter bomb for you for sure. We'll organize the hashtag.
On it.
We will do
that, buddy.
We'll do that.
Thank you. Let me tell you something. I do live videos
after the show,
and I say what needs to be said. And if people don't like it, they can kiss my ass. That's what.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I love this guy. I'm already following you just because of that.
Can we clone like about 500 million of you?
Hey, you don't need that. You just need one.
Richard, what is your Twitter handle that you want us to tweet out?
Yeah, we'll do like Ojeda for UBI as the hashtag. How's that sound? Does anybody like that? Or does anybody have a better idea? Ojeda for UBI, numeral 4, letters 4. I don't know.
Or airborne for UBI or something.
Major Ojeda, do you have any suggestions yourself for the hashtag?
Well, you have to. I'm at Ojeda for America. That's my Twitter page.
Okay.
But I'll tell you right now, you guys could come up with anything UBI related. Let me tell you something. I support it wholeheartedly. Trickle friggin' up economics.
Ojeda for
Let me just
humanity.
ask one question. Right now, the going number, the Ying's updated because of the pandemic and the new state of the world. $2,000 a month is going. Would you be in favor of a $2,000 a month UBI?
Why not? Why
okay,
not?
I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
Great.
If we're going to give these assholes at the top,
yeah,
is that a trick question?
Then hell, $5,000 a month. People would spend it on the economy. I think
Good. It's not a trick question. I only ask because when I formulate the message, when I say, okay, let's all sign off on this, it's going to be like, hey, Major Ojeda supports a $2,000 plus a month UBI.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just
wanted a clarification on the number, so yeah.
I do want to ask.
I don't have a problem. It breaks my heart that they gave the people $1,200, and that's all they've given them. $1,200, and the bad part about it is that they give them $1,200, but they don't stop things like your mortgage payments. I mean, you give people $1,200. That should be for food, not to pay your electric and all that other shit.
Right.
There's a lot of people who didn't get any, who got nothing except that $1,200.
Nothing.
Who aren't getting.
There was a lot of people that didn't.
And
there was a lot of people that didn't get the $1,200.
There's a lot of people who didn't even get the $1,200. And what we have right now are morons in Congress, in that cesspool known as Washington, D.C., who are saying that, we can't just give poor people money because it'll disincentivize them. You know what? I'd like to disincentivize criminal negligence, because if you're a parent and you try to starve your child into submission to your will, what do you think is going to happen to you? CPS is going to come right in your house. They'll kick down your door. And take your kids, and they will haul you to jail. They will slap the silver bracelets on you. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely right. I don't understand. You look at somebody like Mitch McConnell, who has one job that pays $174,000 a year, and he's become he's worth $20-some million. Explain how that is. How is that? That guy, he's the guy. He's getting the free money.
And like the people we have in Congress are the laziest pieces of shit on the face of the earth. And they have the nerve to tell people who are applying like jobs like crazy, trying to sell whatever they can, working their asses off just to make ends meet, lazy, just because they're getting a measly $600. That's nothing compared to what they got to the corporations. It's just total contradiction. They want to know who the lazy people are. They should look in a mirror because they haven't been doing their jobs.
Yeah. You're right. Spot on.
Mr. Ojeda, I want to ask about that actually. The extra $600 that was a part of the unemployment, which just expired, I believe, a few days ago. Do you think that should be extended as well, or if we were able to adopt a universal basic income, do you think that should replace unemployment insurance?
Well, first off, I think I think that they need to extend it right now because there's nothing in place, and you can't go from making that to nothing, and that's where people are today. So they need to extend that. I will tell you that UBI does not touch Social Security. The only thing that UBI does away with is welfare, because if you're on welfare and you're making $650 a month, and I offer you $1,000 a month, you should take the $1,000. So we could do away with welfare, and then we ain't got nobody screaming.
And not to mention all the bureaucracy and paperwork that you don't have to deal with when you're getting the UBI too. Part of the reason people don't want welfare, even though they think, because it confuses the shit out of them and it wastes their time and it gets them frustrated.
Yeah. I don't see how this can't be like. I assume when you said when you talk about welfare, unemployment, not right now because of the way the system is built out, but in the long term, unemployment, that's a part of welfare, right?
No.
Bullshit. It's
No, it's
bullshit. You pay into unemployment.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. We keep letting Mitch McConnell and them. They're first and foremost. It should never be allowed to allow them to stick their friggin' hands in Social Security. It is not their personal bank account. If we raise the cap on Social Security, right now it's $124,000. If we raise the cap to $250,000, you pay into Social Security the first $250,000 you make. It would be there for our kids. If we removed it completely, and you know what? I'm not against that. Because the truth is if you make $50,000 a year, you're paying into Social Security with every dime that you make. But you know what? How about these people like Bezos and all those guys? If they had to pay into Social Security all the way with their $160 billion they make a year, what's wrong with that? It don't bother me at all. To me, that's money that absolutely could be here for everybody. And there's so much more.
And here's the irony of ironies. They want to spend money on like fighter jets and attack helicopters and all of this stuff. And what is there to defend when everyone's starving? It makes zero sense.
Let me tell you,
jump in?
That right there comes, but that right there, you got to understand, that's military contracting. If we cut our budget in half, we would still spend more than every single country out there combined. You know, I agree with you. It's about time for us to start prioritizing and saying, instead of having 1,000 more jets that we don't need, how about we do something for our people?
So, I wanted to chime in with a couple things. So you were talking about your wanting to get out there. So there's a site called thetrickleup.com. And essentially it's like Netflix for Yang Gang members and true like news that comes from us as members. And we've already been, I think we put our podcast on there, or should have been. But like maybe we can help you get on there as well. I also wanted to mention that we have the rent strike movement I want to say org, but it could be com, to help people like not have to worry about rent. So these are things we should consider. But really what I wanted to get to was, what if we got the people who dropped out, who did not get to be seen on, the news, and instead of a debate, have like a think tank? Like, what if that was facilitated? Would you join something like that?
You better believe it. Absolutely. Anything that I can do to help, to help this country. Look, I spent 24 years in the military. To me, it's my duty. My oath did not end when I retired. I want to see this country better. And right now we're going down a bad path. So absolutely, I'd be happy to participate in anything. Yeah.
So
That's
you're
wonderful.
always welcome here, Mr. Ojeda. And I was wondering if I could share some of the photos that you had, shared with us in our Twitter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we could talk a little bit about these beautiful photos.
This is what I'm talking about. And the thing is that like we need to consolidate our power to create like our own media. We get like a few voices in here, and Buckminster Fuller said, don't try to compete with the existing system. Create something so much better that it makes the old system obsolete. And I think this is what we're doing.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
So here's our first photo, and this is Richard with Andrew.
Who's that handsome guy wearing a flag around his neck?
Oh, it's me.
It was really awesome. It was really awesome because Andrew reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want you to come to New York. I want you to kind of fire up my team." So I got to go to New York, and I spent about a week up there with him. And I'll tell you, man, I mean, he had an amazing team, hardworking individuals. And it was awesome. Andrew Yang is he's a down-to-earth guy. That's what's really cool. When you meet him and stuff. I mean, Andrew Yang's the kind of guy that'll go shoot basketball with you. I mean, he's a good guy. You can tell he is.
Yeah, forget beer. You could play beer pong with him at a party,
or you can have a boba.
He could be like a college roommate,
and then have barbecue turkey legs on the grill, and he'll like it'd be great.
He's shot. He's
He's a
squared up.
guile player.
He's
He
awesome.
plays his guile in
Yeah,
Street
he's an
Fighter
awesome
too.
dude.
He's got something for everybody. Like everyone's like, I would like to have my cultural connection to Andrew. He's so cosmopolitan. Like he personally connects to
he's a
everyone here in
great
a
guy.
different way. Yeah.
He's
This
down
next
to
photo
earth.
we've got here is Ariel, our Ariel Bakshunda, in a helicopter. Is that right?
No, that's a plane. But
Oh.
next I'll do a helicopter. But
Oh
yeah,
my God!
it-
Are you taking flying lessons, Ariel?
I got some of that extra money, and I just wanted to do what I love. And like, if I had the money for it, I would become a pilot. But yeah,
You're soaring.
Which,
Yeah.
which then led us to have this photo exchanged.
Yeah, that right there is helo casting. As a sapper in the military, that's just one of the ways we can get to work. But that right there was down in Portland, Missouri. That's actually a picture from the best sapper competition. But anybody who goes through sapper school, anybody that gets stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, that's especially a combat engineer, you're going to do this. It's an awesome way to work.
I thought at first like that was like a screenshot from like a Call of Duty game. It does look pretty
No,
bad.
that's
I'm like,
Bragg.
I feel like play as
So you
you
jump out. You jump out of the helicopter to where you're going.
Well, that right there, what it is you're actually in a big a vest, so you can float. But you throw your rucksack out, it hits in the water, then you jump out, then you grab your rucksack, and then you swim to the shore.
How high up are you from there?
Only about maybe 20 feet, and it's into the water.
That's very
Believe me,
interesting.
if you land wrong and you go in, you have to just exit out and kind of lean back because you don't want to bust. This right here is just a regular airborne operation at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Sicily drop zone.
And you
That's- we
said
call
you
that
spent
one
most
pass
of
on
your.
that.
You said you spent
what
most
now?
of your career at Fort Bragg.
Yeah. I was stationed at Fort Bragg 4 different times. 2 times was 5 years each. I love Fort Bragg. It's just a great place to be. This is a night drop at Fort Bragg. This was on Sicily drop zone. Exit the aircraft. In the military, you train as you fight, and for the most part, if you're going to conduct an airborne operation in combat, it's going to be under the hours of darkness. So we do that quite often. This next picture was me getting ready to jump. That guy's from Egypt. It's called a foreign jump. You do a jump exchange. They get your set of wings and they give you their set of wings. So it was a pretty cool operation. We actually had a Pakistani guy with us, and he actually exited the aircraft like a mile too early, and they had to send somebody to go find him.
Shit. Oh.
And this right here is air assault operations. It's just another way to work.
Are you going up or down in this?
Oh, no.
Why
You're
not
sliding
both?
down. You're sliding down. And let me tell you something. Every time you do this, no matter what, there's always going to be one person when they try to go out into their L, and that's the body position, they'll allow their head to go below their ass, and then they'll flip upside down. It's always hilarious because it's scary as hell to be up that high and be upside down.
You'll never see Mitch do something like this.
Oh yeah, he'd probably
Yeah.
just like drop out of the helicopter
Or
and land
Trump.
like a pancake.
Now this right here, this was a complete honor. The Golden Knights are the greatest airborne parachuting operation on the planet. And I got a phone call and asked, this was after I retired, if I would be willing to drive to Virginia and jump with the Golden Knights. So I jumped in my vehicle and I took off and I went down there and I got the free fall. We jumped at 13,500 foot. And of course, you're this guy with the cameras coming over and I'm grabbing his feet. Just a pretty cool operation and truly an honor.
If there was anything left to do on Earth, this would be it, the jumping from an airplane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me tell you
anything
something.
left, right?
If
Yeah,
you-
YOLO,
if-
right?
Everybody should at least try to exit an aircraft at least once. This right here is
Nah, I'm
from
good.
the Chinook. This is walking off the tailgate in a Chinook for a Chinook jump. But that's it. You know, as you can see, those are D bags flying in the distance.
Wow.
But you can see
Yeah,
the
I'm
parachute.
afraid of heights. I can't even look at that.
Hey,
I feel
guess
like
what?
I have to
I'm gonna
conquer
tell you-
all my fears. So if
I'd
I'm
rather eat
able-
pineapple on
I'm gonna
pizza.
try.
I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm scared of heights too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
No,
I would say that I was going to do
How
it.
do you
and
do
then
it
just
if you're terrified?
You just do it. You do it. This right here, that's my foot right there. You know, you just do it. You know, if you allow your fear to stop you, I tell that to soldiers. I say, don't allow your fear to ever stop you from being hua. And that's just the way that it is. You can be scared to jump out of a plane. I don't give a shit. Close your eyes, exit the aircraft. But I need you on the ground, so get there. That's it.
I'm pretty
This is,
sure somebody would have
Helo
to push me out. That I might be the only
Well,
way I
make no
could get out,
mistake
but
about
I
it.
still want to sign up.
Well, I was the jump master in the military, so if you got to the door, make no mistake about it, I'd help you if I had to. It would come in the form of a foot to the ass, but you get out the bird.
If Andrew Yang is down there, I might take
get out
the
the
job. I might take the risk. It's like, hey,
There you go.
down,
Well, that's true. You'd have to imagine, like, if somebody really needed you right this minute to do
or
this,
some vanilla
right?
ice cream, or so.
This is another thing of helo casting.
I would chicken out at the last second. I'd be the person standing at the door who was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then I'd just like run away.
Gonna do it.
Look
Go
a
do
little
it.
younger here.
Yeah, this right here was in 2004. A suicide bomber had just busted a hole into the bridge with his ass, and we were required to get down there and pull security on this bridge before we get a makeshift maybe Johnson to go over top of the hole. But yeah, that was in 2000.
Are you allowed to say where you were?
It was called the Musaib Bridge. It was just south of Baghdad. You know, there was a time that, man, I mean, they were hitting our bridges. They were hitting the bridges hard, but then they were also going after the military bridging too. I was back in 2007, 2008. And I mean, we were losing more bridge. It was a tough time, real tough time. This picture here, a suicide bomber in a van actually jumped the curb and slammed into this Humvee. Actually, a 19-year-old died as everybody was putting him on the helicopter, but this was his vehicle after it got hit with the suicide bomber who was in a van. It's called a vehicular-borne improvised explosive device. With the
Experience that you have in the military, how do you think the military forces would respond if our current president tries to hold on to his power, or somehow not leave, or somehow call off an election? How would our military respond? Yeah,
punch him in the face.
No, I believe that our military is absolutely solid. You know, if you listen to General Mattis, listen to General Petraeus, listen to people like that. You know, they understand the Constitution. Our president has never read the Constitution, but they understand the Constitution. Yeah. Believe me, if all else failed, they would escort him out of the building.
This country is about we the people, not me the president. And that's what our military
That's right.
is.
That's right. And you know what? Let me tell you something. If you think for 1 second that General Mattis is not one of the most respected men on the planet, you're wrong. He is very well respected, and he's absolutely right. Now, this picture right here is of my 27-year-old daughter that I just now found out I have. We had a birthday party for her. She grew up. She was poor. She was homeless at one time, and that really breaks my heart. But she never knew who her father was, and she went and she took Ancestry.com. And when she did it, I had 2 cousins that took Ancestry.com, so they were in that database. So when she got her paperwork back showing her where she had come from, it stated that she was second cousins with my cousins Jamie and my cousins Chris. So Jamie called me and said, there's a girl that's looking for her father, and the truth is according to her paperwork, it's one of our cousins. So, of course, me and my cousin Jamie said, well, we're going to blame it on Damon, my other cousin. But then we hung up, and we were laughing about it, and then I just started thinking about it. And then I went and I called him back, and I said, did she give you any details? and he mentioned her mother's name, and I knew that me and her mother, before me and my wife ever got together, used to, date around. So I contacted her that night, and I messaged her, and I said, "Can I have your phone number?" So she sent me her phone number, and I called her, and I said, "I think I may be your father." So I asked her if I could come up and see her, and believe it or not, she only lives literally 7 minutes from my house. So I went up and I met her, and I went up and I met her, and we agreed to go take an exam, and we went and took the test, and I got the test back, and she's mine. And I couldn't be any happier. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She put herself through college. She's a fighter, and she's a winner, and she's mine. And I'm proud of her.
Well, congratulations.
What a
Congratulations.
beautiful
So
story.
happy.
Yeah.
And your
Congratulations.
daughter is gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. She's amazing.
I'm going to bring up the next photos here.
At first look,
We're
I thought
good.
that was Paget with some tattoos. It's like,
Okay.
I was like,
Now, if you look in that text, there's a video, and it's a tough video for me, but it's the video that I did when are you there?
We just put you on spotlight for a minute.
Okay, there's a video that's in that link, and that was me announcing to the world that I had a daughter. And it's tough. I mean, it's very emotional, but it's I couldn't be any happier. It hurts me that she struggled, and it hurts me that I missed 27 years of her life. But make no mistake about it, I wasn't there the first 27, and I'll be there the rest.
Yeah, I could tell when you shared that photo with us out of the blue that this was something that's weighing on you. Is it something recent that happened?
I just found out literally 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So in 2 weeks, it's going to take a little longer to process all those emotions and then
and
get
with this whole
reconnected properly.
right, but with this whole pandemic going on, like what's happened? Like, is she safe with like a career and stuff, or like her family and things? And
well, believe it or not, her fiance is a wonderful guy. He's a tattoo artist, and he's a good tattoo artist. And they're actually moving to Bluefield, West Virginia, which is 2 hours away. But that's okay, because we're moving to North Carolina, and we're going to be closer to Bluefield than they are Logan. So it's still going to put us where we're at least a couple hours away from each other. But if they get to Bluefield and they're not happy with it, they know we just bought 19 acres of land, and all of my family is building houses on it, and they're more than welcome. I told them, I said, I'd love nothing more than, I want to have my family close to me at all times. And, she's my family. And I'm telling you, she's amazing. I couldn't be any happier. I just wish, I wouldn't have missed 27 years of her life. I mean, I still ask the question, why didn't her mother ever reach out to me? But I'm not going to throw stones at her mother. I'm not going to. It is what it is. But now we're connected, and she comes up all the time, and we just love her. My whole family just adores her.
well, better late than never. And
I can't imagine.
you
Yeah, I
know.
can't imagine what that feels like, but I do have 2 children that I can't see or talk to during this pandemic. And it's very sad for me. So I absolutely. I got 2 kids in college, and me and my, I spend a lot of time away from my family. Can y'all hear me? yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
mhm.
Okay. I spent years away from my family. That's why I have it. I tell people all the time, when I went to college, when I was 23 years old, I never skipped class. I never missed a day. And I told people, I said, they were like, let's go party. I'm like, no, I ain't doing it, because I slept in the friggin' cold. I lived in Germany for 2 years, and I jumped out of planes, and I did all this other stuff, and I was like, I risked a lot to go to college, so I'm not going to fail. So, and then after I become an officer and I got back in the Army, I spent years, a year in Korea. I spent 3 years in combat. I missed my kids in when I was in Haiti for the earthquake. I spent so much time away from my wife and my kids, and I did it for this nation. And it kills me when I think all of that time away from my family for this, so that our country could go down the tubes because of incompetent leadership. No, that's why we have to fight. That's why we can't take a knee. We cannot allow this to continue on. Never walk past something that you know is wrong and fail to make comment, for if you do, you have accepted a new lower standard. I will not accept lower standards. Won't do it.
Well, didn't Martin Luther King say, like, the real traitors are not the ones who do the evil, but the ones who see it and do nothing about it?
Absolutely.
The enablers,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I did a thing the other night, and I read it verbatim, and it was, it's and everybody has heard it. They came for the communists, but I was not a communist, so it didn't bother me. They came for the union members, but I wasn't in the union, so it didn't bother me. They came for the Jews, but I wasn't Jewish, so it didn't bother me. And then they came for me, and there was no one to protect me. There was no one to speak up for me because everybody was gone. Reality.
Yeah,
That's how division
scary.
works.
And they don't know, but the people are not going to take this sitting down. It's going to affect eventually, it's going to start with the regular rich if the super rich are not affected, and those super duper rich are not going to give a damn about the regular rich when that happens, and it's just going to work.
No, they don't.
Its way.
And they don't care about this country.
It's going to require the upper middle class. Somebody asked earlier, and I forget who it was, what will it take, for people to, go full on revolution? I'll tell you what it's going to take. It's going to take for the upper middle class to become poor and get a small taste of what many of us were oppressed under and forced to live with every day of our lives for decades. And when that happens, when the upper middle class starts to fall, that is when the shit will hit the fan. Guaranteed.
Izzy, did you have a question?
We're really right about there. With these benefits not being continued, a lot of people were making more money than this $600 boost anyway. They were making more, and they're even going to lose that just because of the stubbornness, incompetence, stupidity, and evil of some of these people we have at the top. And when that happens, we're just going to have to watch and see, but we got to be vigilant.
Let me tell you guys something that kind of puts it all in picture. Do you guys remember the coal miners in Harlan County, Kentucky, standing on the railroad tracks not too long ago?
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
You know why that was? Do you know how come that took place? Because in places like West Virginia and places like Kentucky, right to work states, they did away with the thing called the wage bond. And the wage bond basically was, if you were in extractions, you had to put so much money into a bank account so that if you had to file for bankruptcy and your people had worked for 15 days this month, there was enough money in that bank to pay their salaries for 15 days. And guess what they did? When right to work states become right to work, the first thing they do is they attack things like the wage bond, and they got rid of the wage bond, which basically says that a company, a business, a corporation owner, all they have to do is file for bankruptcy, and then they get away with everything. They don't have to pay and now they're not going to pay your retirements, everything, and it's taken place. And when one group gets to do it, then the others go, hey, I can do that too. You mean I can file for bankruptcy and I don't have to pay these people that have worked for me for the past 15 years, their retirement? Good to go. And let me tell you something. That's the kind of stuff that will eventually lead to a revolution in this country. Now, let me tell you something. There's two types of revolutions, a bloody one and one at the polls. We have to hope that the revolution takes place at the polls, because if it ever does get to the point where it's a bloody revolution, this place is going to get ripped apart.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. Because, we got more guns than people in this country. And, a lot of people glamorize the revolution, but they don't understand that there's a lot of innocent and vulnerable people and weak people that suffer and die and get caught in the crossfire. right?
The people with the money can afford to defend themselves.
Right.
The people in this country that are the filthy rich, guess what? Most of them actually own land in other countries. They would literally get on a plane and fly and watch America burn. And then when we finally get our shit together, they'll be the first ones to come over and then try to take over.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. And
Right.
for the people like me and Jacqueline and anybody else who's in the system, any disruption to that is basically life shattering for any sort of daily normalcy.
Yep.
And the real problem is once you have that violent revolution, are you prepared to create something that's better? And
Right,
we're
that's-
not even prepared right now. We're not
Yeah.
at a stage where people
Everyone's
have
destroyed.
We can't
and
If we
even
had the
get
narrative
resources, we
that
could get it
works.
together. If we had the resources,
We can't
if
even-
everyone had money, we could create new structures. That's not a fear I
We
have.
live
Don't
in
worry
a
about that.
culture.
When we
We
get
live
the
in a
UBI,
culture
that's
that
really all we need.
says
Mind of
that
scarcity.
It's
Yeah.
okay to throw away, poor 12 and 13-year-old homeless little girls and boys into forced prostitution and then stigmatize them and criminalize them for life so that they have to survive by literally begging and stealing, just to survive, begging mostly. This is the kind of values we have. So what we need to do as a society is say, do we want a country where a 12 or a 13-year-old, and that's going based on the average age of entry into the industry of prostitution through trafficking, okay? The average age of entry is 12, 13 years old, right? Now we've got to ask ourselves, do we want to live in a society that says that if you are born poor, especially if you're born poor and female, that this is okay, to be done to somebody else's daughter, somebody else's sister, somebody else's auntie? Do we want to live in a country where somebody born the wrong gender or the wrong social class has a greater chance of being trafficked by age 13 than they have of getting through high school and passing their SATs and getting accepted into Stanford? What we got to do is have an honest to God, hard look in the mirror and say, do we really feel that other people, that everybody in this country has human rights, and that we really give serious credence to the definition of those words? Because words have meaning, language matters, and people use words all the time, but they don't think about what the words mean. And we got to look at ourselves in the mirror and at each other and say, look, what kind of society do we want here? Do we want one with a social floor through which no one can fall, that everybody is guaranteed a bare minimum, at least, a basic level of human dignity and decency? Or do we want to continue down this slide into a Mad Max type of dystopian hellhole? And that's the tough questions that, we've got to force people
Amen.
to have an honest conversation with themselves about.
We wanted to thank Mr. Ojeda for coming to our show today on a short notice. If we wanted to thank you especially for being a role model in American politics. This is Jeremy. Jeremy wanted to thank you for that, and we all agree with him. We want to go ahead and say goodbye to you now so that you get a chance to have your break.
Let me just say one last thing. It's like we can't continue this race to the bottom because it's disturbing. And also, like, we have to care. Like, Republicans talk about, like, the sanctity of life. Well, after the child is born, we have to care about that too. And they're so quick to support the troops. But what about supporting them when they come back home as well?
Yeah, like don't leave them homeless and stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Guys, let me tell you, this has been an honor. Anytime I can do anything with the Yang Gang, Andrew Yang is a close personal friend. I think the guy's phenomenal. I hope he runs again. And because I'll fight for him every single day. But yeah, if you guys could help me with the Ojeda for America, which is at Ojeda for America on Twitter. And then also I got 80,000 followers on Facebook. Ask everybody to follow both of them. I'm trying to build this up because I use it. I use it to try to educate people. Actually, right now, what I'm in the middle of is I'm doing the Constitution. And, I just did the First Amendment the other day, and I'm not doing the Second Amendment next. I'm going to do the Fourth Amendment, illegal searches and seizures, because we got people being snatched off the streets. So I think it should be pretty interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and go through it all. Because the truth is most people in America have never read the Constitution. Our president has never read the Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we can start educating some of those people. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
Also, make sure to
Twitter
like
hashtag bomb for you.
Yeah. Also make sure to like follow us back and stuff, because I feel like we need to have another one of these conversations.
Yeah. Hey, send me a message. Yeah, absolutely. I'll follow all of y'all back.
All right.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Yep.
All right, guys. Hey.
I'll add you to the
Thanks,
group
guys.
DMs. All right.
I already did that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for
that
coming
one.
on. So this was our 100th episode, guys, huh?
Yeah, I'm so glad I got him on
Yeah.
such short notice. Because I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, didn't he have to do that thing with Mike Breuer? And then we never got back to him after that, after he said he couldn't come.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
I'm wondering if he can come now. Why did we never get back to him? And I'm like,
good
hey,
thinking.
can you come? And he's just like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
I'd like to know what happened that Mike Breuer's candidacy went for Platts. What happened?
He had a progressive challenger.
Amy McGrath just got too much of the oxygen in the room because of the mainstream media and because of all the out-of-state Democrats' money going into Kentucky.
Yeah, let's drink.
And then weren't there 15 people running for that slot too?
Let's drink Schlitz Light instead of Miller Full Flavor. Yeah, okay.
Hey guys, I gotta get going, so I'm gonna say
You want
goodbye.
us to do our sign-offs here? It's been a good long
let's
podcast.
sign off.
Take care.
Yeah.
So let's all take our
Zach.
sign off. So goodbye, Zach. Give us your Twitter and thank you for coming. And yeah.
I think Zach already left.
All right, cool. Ariel, why don't you give us your
Okay.
Twitter?
So yeah, you can follow me at ARIELS. That's Ariels _ARMADA. That's Armada. Revolutionary Thinking on YouTube, youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. And if you like, Richard Ojeda talks about airborne and flying things, I am Ariels _Ariels on Instagram. That's ARIELS _AERIALS on Instagram.
Thank you, Ariel. Faye, why don't you sign off? Faye Doney. There we go.
Right, we got more than one.
I know.
My username on Twitter is @Tisdoney, and that's TISDONEY. And if you are part of any movement that you want to be talked about, come find me, because I'm trying to collect as many as I can so we can work together. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. All right, Izzy, why don't you give us your sign off here?
Yeah, okay. So, my Twitter handle, my comment handle for even Instagram and stuff is at Izzy Bolden, IZZYBOLDEN. And I also have a YouTube channel, Izzyland YT, as well as the official podcast for Izzyland Uncut. And I'm actually going to be interviewing two good friends of mine. You're probably familiar with them, Jose and Militia. We're just gonna have a discussion about a lot of various things, and from the corruption in our society and the corruption with our people, and things like abuse and other things, maybe even throwing UBI and various things. And also if you wanna come on, just DM me and we can have a discussion and stuff, and it should be fun. I try to make it as entertaining as possible, but yeah, I hope to get maybe Richard on, or Angie Yang, or Jermaine Johnson, or Mike Breuer, any of them. It's I hope one day that will happen. But yeah,
ask them. Yeah. I think you could do it. It seems within your grasp. There, we're all working together trying to spread this message. So I think ask them, and they will probably do your show, because yeah, it's a legitimate platform. So thanks, Izzy. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Let's go to Mia.
Mia, thank you. Yes.
I am at Mia Songbird on Twitter. I do Humanity Hangs Tuesdays and Fridays. And I have an autistic child who is special needs who I have to sign off and go get something to eat like right about now.
Okay. Thanks for bearing with us, Mia.
Thank you so
Stay
much. You
strong.
guys
Thanks for
have a
coming,
great night.
Mia.
Bye, Mia. We'll see you soon. Jacqueline.
I'm on Twitter at Jacqueline Homan. That's JACQUELINEHOMAN.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Feiku.
You can find me on Twitter at Palestine Math. And also you can find me on Facebook at Yang Gang Report, the Yang Gang Report.
Thank you, Faye. And I am at SHAELRILEY on Twitter. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching the stream. Thank you again, Richard Ojeda, for coming and for a fantastic 100th episode. We'll see you next time. Be good to each other. Stay safe. Let's get basic income going. Goodbye.